Next band, ED1A Pod 2. Okay, so once again, assemble a song challenge. Who was the instigator of the chord formations?
With the
I knew it would be Harley.
Yeah.
He's leaning on that experience of being a former level 2 student. That's what it is. So Harley, let me ask you, how did you come up with the chord formations? What was the inspiration? Was it genre driven or what was it?
I just read them off the sheet and played just picked 3.
But you must have decided on a flow of how you played it.
Yeah, that was just seeing, I don't know, what I thought sounded like nice or okay, and then just go to that.
Cool. So sounded good to your ear. You kind of cracked on and played it, yeah. Jesus, are you in this band? Do you want to come and sit over here, just next to Will? Sorry about the interruption, guys. So, with regard to that, you sorted that framework. How did you correspond with then Nick? Because as a keyboard player, you're going to want to know what the chords are, what the formation is. How did you kind of work together?
Are you talking to me or are you talking to Harley?
A bit of both. I'll talk to you now if you like.
I did one chord line first in the song. I wanted to make it sound like a dreamy Pink Floyd style song, but then Harley went through a different chord progression, like E, A7 and G, but I wanted E, A7, D because I thought it progressed better. But then I thought, now I was okay with E, G and A7 because E, A7 and D were a bit too predictable of a chord progression, so we went with a more unique one.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So there was a slight variation to that initial instigation, yeah? Okay, yeah. Cool.
So chorus we have E, D major 7, G and A7. So the chord progression isn't too repetitive throughout the song.
So good point. So you move on from a definite verse pattern and a definite chorus pattern. So that would dictate what you would add to it then, Mia. So how did you go about that vocal melody? Were you aware of those two differences and therefore came up with two different things?
Yeah.
What about the hook line? You had a really strong hook line in yours, didn't you?
Yeah, I just kind of made it up as the song went along. Okay.
And was that based on just you hearing it repetitively that you're able to kind of come up with that melody? Yeah, great. What about rhythmically? Bryce, how did you know what to play or?
I mean, I took the tempo that we're playing at and sort of played what I enjoy playing. A lot of kicks, snare rolls, and improvised a little bit when.
Similar perhaps to these guys, where knowing that to add something, to add a little bit more dynamic or to close the track up a bit, as I would say. If it's like a fully closed hi-hat, whether it's an open ride or crashes or whatever, yeah?
Yeah, during the solos I went really quiet on the hats, but then during the chorus when it's a bit more energetic on the ride, or
Great.
using it as a crash cymbal.
So it's just that natural understanding of dynamic, and I could hear that with the keyboards as well and the guitar. All of those sort of things were fitting. What about the bass, Josh? What did you know? I mean, it's your first sort of experiences on that instrument, so.
Yeah, we were both playing guitar.
Ah, right, okay,
But,
so.
we came up with the progression and sort of I came up with more of a rhythmic aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we can't have people playing the same thing, so Harley played it an octave higher.
Cool.
To earning him in slightly later.
Yeah, so that was adding a different texture perhaps and slightly different tonality, if you like, to the track. Yeah, and a bit more impact. You know, they're sort of things that you can do with guitar overdubs when you're looking at recording. See, I always look at music very much a case of not just you creating a piece of music and then you performing it. I always look at it from a production point of view. You know, what would you do in the studio? When would that guitar come in or come out? Or what would the vocal do? What sort of effects? And I always look at it that way. And I want you guys to try and consider things in that way. Then you'll come up with some really good ideas and you'll be happy with the overall outcome. So yeah, some great points. Again, very similar to those other guys. Give them a round of applause.